The ocean is powered by this invisible engine, a microbiome of trillions upon trillions of tiny organisms. For decades, scientists have been scratching their heads over one central mystery. In the huge, seemingly random chaos of the sea, how do these microscopic life forms actually coordinate with each other to fuel the entire planet? Well, the breakthrough came when they realized these organisms weren't just floating around aimlessly. They were talking.
So it really boils down to this one simple question, right? How does a single-celled plant manage to find its microscopic bacterial partner in a volume of water that's almost impossible for us to even comprehend? It turns out it's not random chance at all. It's a conversation.
So let's meet the main players in this conversation. On one side, you've got phytoplankton, like these diatoms. They're the tiny plants of the sea. And on the other side, you've got bacteria. Their relationship is, and this is no exaggeration, one of the most important on Earth. It's a constant, microscopic dialogue that basically props up the entire marine food web and even the global carbon cycle.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to tune into their invisible conversation. It's a dialogue that's happening on a scale we just can't see, using a language that we're only now starting to figure out.
This whole exchange takes place in a tiny little zone around each phytoplankton cell. It's called the phycosphere. Just think of it like a chemical aura. The phytoplankton sends out this cocktail of molecules, and in return, bacteria provides super important services like vitamins and other nutrients. But here's the thing, for this whole system to work, they can't just be yelling into the void. They need a private line, specific signals to find their specific partners.
Right. So how in the world do eavesdrop on a conversation that's happening at the molecular level? Well, scientists at NYU Abu Dhabi came up with this brilliant experiment to follow the chemical trail and see exactly who was talking to whom.
And the setup they came up with? It was just so elegant. First, they fed a diatom a special, heavy form of nitrogen called 15N. This basically puts a tracking tag on all the chemical gifts the diatom makes. Then, they brought in its known friendly bacterial partners, but they also threw in an opportunistic bacterium, one that isn't part of the team. And finally, they used this incredibly powerful imaging tool to just sit back and watch where that tagged nitrogen ended up. And wow, the results were just crystal clear. On the left, you can see the baseline nitrogen, but look on the right. See how the friendly bacteria are just glowing with that special 15N tag? The other bacteria? They took up almost nothing. This was the smoking gun. The diatom isn't just leaking food randomly. It's sending targeted messages that only its intended partners are picking up.
Okay, so knowing who was getting the messages, that was a huge leap forward. But of course, it opened up an even bigger question. What were the exact chemical words they were using? What was the vocabulary of this secret ocean language?
And the answer, well, it was about to completely flip our understanding of molecular communication on its head. Because it turns out, this super sophisticated language is built from something scientists had pretty much always dismissed as simple biological junk.
So to get this, there's a key word we need to know: catabolite. Whenever an organism breaks down a complex molecule, like a vitamin, it creates all these byproducts. Those are catabolites. And for the longest time, a lot of these were just thought of as metabolic exhaust, basically useless waste.
And that brings us right to the heart of the discovery. The old way of thinking was that the byproducts from breaking down vitamin B6 were just cellular trash, useless. But the new discovery revealed that this so-called junk is anything but. It's actually a complex, information-packed chemical language that organizes one of the most important partnerships in the entire ocean, a total game changer.
And get this, it's not a one-way street. It's a real dialogue. The diatom puts out these vitamin B6 byproducts. The bacterium specifically grabs them, changes them around, and then sends back its own signal, a catabolite called 4-pyridoxate, which was long thought to be a final waste product. And then, to complete the circle, the diatom takes that bacterial waste right back up. It's an actual chemical back and forth. All right, so we've got the vocabulary, these vitamin B6 byproducts, but what do the words actually mean? What are these two tiny organisms actually saying to each other with this chemical language? So to figure that out, the researchers basically let each partner listen to the other's chemical signals, and then they watched to see what happened to their genes. And what they found was an impact on a truly staggering scale.
When the organisms got that combination of signals from their partner, it set off this massive chain reaction. We're talking about roughly 20%. 20% of the entire genome in both the diatom and the bacterium either switched on or changed. That is a colossal reprogramming of their entire cellular machinery.
But here's the kicker, the really mind-blowing part. This massive genetic shift had zero effect on how fast either organism grew. Nothing. This is the crucial piece of evidence that proves these molecules aren't just food, they are pure information. They're signals that are getting both partners ready to cooperate.
So if we were to translate this whole complex genetic dance into a simple conversation, it would go a little something like this. The bacteria's signals are basically saying, hey, we're here and we're friendly. The diatom hears this and responds by firing up all the machinery it needs to make extra food to share. The bacterium, in turn, gets the diatom signals and goes, awesome, you've got the food covered, so I'll just shut down my own production lines to save energy. It's a perfectly coordinated plan for mutual benefit.
Okay, this is absolutely incredible for this one little diatom and its bacterial buddy. But does it matter on a bigger scale? I mean, is this just some local dialect, or is this a universal language spoken across all the world's oceans?
Well, to figure that out, the researchers dug into this massive global database called Terra Oceans, looking for the genes that make these chemical signals. And as you can see right here on this map, they found them everywhere. The genetic machinery for this conversation exists in every single major ocean basin, from the warmest tropical waters to the freezing poles.
And it gets even cooler. They didn't just find the genes, they found proof that the genes were being actively used. By looking at gene transcripts, they confirmed this isn't just some potential ability they have. This chemical conversation is happening right now, all the time, all across the sunlit surface of the entire planet.
You know, this all leads to a really profound new understanding, and the study's authors just summed it up perfectly. What we used to think of as just simple byproducts or waste are actually information-rich signals structuring interkingdom interactions in the oceans.
And that just leaves you with this incredible thought-provoking question, doesn't it? This entire planet-shaping language was hidden in plain sight, dismissed as nothing more than biological noise. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible secrets about how our world works are still hiding in the things we've already decided are just waste?